Hey guys, Jonathan here with Short Term Dojo. Today I'm going to be putting together a list of your beginner technological software components, better known as the tech stack, for beginners and individuals who are either just getting started or have 1 to 2 listings. So today I'm going to start with number 1, our communication software. There are several to choose from, but we use Hospitable, and we just find that that particular software is both best in class and has the smartest AI and the easiest UI interface to work with and craft messages that handle basically any guest question or common interaction, from everything from the inquiry to the check-in information, to the actual booking, to the check-in information, to the morning after follow-up, to the checkout information, and then the after stay follow-up for review. So again, Hospitable, best in class. There are some other choices. That's the one we recommend. There are actually, and this will be a segue into number 2, a PMS, or a property management software. Hospitable is a PMS. I don't suggest using them for that because there are much better best in class offerings, but we're going to transition into number 2. So Hospitable is a PMS, or property management software, but we only use them for the communication segment of that because they're best in class. Number 2 is PMS, or a property management software, which I like to think of as the brain of your operation. And this is really critical if you were to ever scale. You're not going to scale without a PMS, but I'm also not going to sit here and say you absolutely must have a PMS with 1 listing only on Airbnb. That's just not the case. But I highly suggest, which is usually the case for most people, as they get 1 and then 2, they love the business and want to scale. You're not going to be able to do that without a PMS. But the property management software we use is OwnerRez. There's a lot of great ones in the industry right now. Guesty's another one. But we use OwnerRez. We like the mix of robustness and its pricing and our ability to scale, because we've implemented that early on. We've implemented that with 2 listings, and now I believe we're just about to hit 15 plus, with another 20 under construction, and then some acquisitions with our co-hosting business that we're taking on too. So we have not had to make any modifications to our growth plan because OwnerRez was implemented early on. So again, if you want to scale, if you want to grow, if you want a brain that connects to all of the technology that you use, you're going to strongly have to consider a property management software. All right, number 3, smart locks. This, believe it or not, is actually not as known as I thought it would be. There are still people I come across that use physical keys and a lockbox. I actually have emergency lockbox as a fail-safe if everything goes wrong at the property. So not saying a emergency lockbox is a bad thing, but you absolutely must use smart locks to coordinate check-in and check-out, self-check-in, check-out whenever the guest wants to come and go from the property. So we use Schlage & Codes. All the lock options, smart lock options, have some pro and con list. We just find that the integration with Schlage & Codes is best in class with some of the software that we use to create those codes on the guest's behalf before their reservations. But a smart lock is a must. I suggest, and this is what we do for all of our properties, to have, if possible, we have some units where there's only 1 door entering into the property. But if there's at least 2 doors that come and go, let's say it's a front door and a patio door or a back door or a garage door or something, we highly recommend using 2 just in case one of them fails. There's almost a backup smart lock that they can get in and out. And the likelihood that they both fail is pretty low. The likelihood of one failing is definitely, it's not common, but it happens. So you want 2 smart locks if possible. It's worth the extra $250, $300. And then we have the emergency key lockbox somewhere on the property. So again, number 3, smart locks. We suggest Schlage & Codes. 4 is cameras. Cameras are just a must. Some people are a little hesitant. I'm not a legal representative, so I can't speak to the legalities of this, but we are encouraging almost everybody to have cameras on the property, but always outside. I don't suggest doing anything nuts or crazy. Some people like to think it's acceptable to put them inside, not in any rooms, but maybe at the entryway facing the door. Don't do that. That's bananas. It's just crazy. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. You don't need to do that. The goal of the cameras are to know who's coming and going from your property, and more importantly, how many cars are parked out there to just head off any particular unwanted guests, unregistered guests, or worst case scenario, large gatherings or parties that you almost certainly do not want. So highly encourage you guys to use Ring cameras. I feel like they have the best subscription service, they have the best coverage, and more importantly, the ability to scroll through the timeline and check events. It's really brilliantly done. Compared to Nest, at least as of this moment, I think today is March 17th, March 16th, 2023. The last time I had a Nest account, you could only add so many homes before you had to create a new account. It was really bizarre. They may have changed that now, but I'm not a big Nest fan product. Ring is what we use on all of our properties. Again, outside only. You want the front door, the parking area in the front, and entryways in the back. I only usually encourage that when there's not any sort of hot tub or area that people can kind of hang out a lot and want some privacy. So that's usually optional depending on the situation, and all those situations are unique. But at a minimum, front door if you can, and the front parking lot or the parking area, street parking, just to make sure people aren't bringing a ton of cars. All right, we're going to go into number 5, which is smart thermostats. This is a great way. There's a lot of times that's another pain point for a guest for a couple reasons. Either they don't know how to use the thermostat, or they're complaining about it being too hot, too cold. How do you work the thing? Or it's down, right? So having visibility into a smart thermostat, which by the way, we use Ecobees. There's a lot of people, there's a few different types to use. We use Ecobees. I like the integration with their dashboards, and I think it's easy to use. Some guests sometimes have a couple of issues with using them, but they're getting a little bit better with the UI on the actual device. That is a little bit easier for a guest to understand. But it's almost crucial that you know at any given time, even if before a guest arrives, sometimes you'll get notifications if there's some sort of malfunction in the system. You can remotely control it. If someone's having an issue, believe it or not, at first it might sound a little creepy that you go in there if you want and you kind of change the temperature. I never do that proactively unless I know someone's coming and it's really cold and I want to raise the temperature on, for them so that they arrive, as opposed to 68 where it's been all week. Now it might be 73 just to walk into a warm home. But also for troubleshooting, they say, hey, I can't figure this out. I ask, what setting do you want? And I'll change it for them. And then I'll also send them either a YouTube guide or a QR code to show them how to use it if they have any trouble. But essentially, it's really just eyes on the functionality of your HVAC system, which ultimately you want to get ahead of if there's any issues with it, because that contributes to guest unhappiness and the experience. You just want to know ahead of time, be able to troubleshoot over the phone, see if there's really an issue. And then if you can't solve it, you actually get an HVAC tech involved to come out. And you can also give them temporary access so that they can do some troubleshooting. They might be able to fix something before they even get to the property. So it's really great. So it's another must that I say for beginners is some form of a smart thermostat. Again, we use Ecobee. Finally, for this video, dynamic pricing. This is really a must because it's just the artificial intelligence is mostly smarter than you in terms of gathering all of the trending data on the location that you have a property, in terms of booking volume, lead time, the events going on that leads to surge pricing. Almost every industry uses it, and you really want to implement a dynamic pricing system like a PriceLabs, Wheelhouse, or Beyond Pricing. We use PriceLabs for our entire portfolio. We like it, but I've used Wheelhouse, I've used Beyond Pricing. They're all really good. One of the things just to think about again is you can go in there and manually control pricing, but you're absolutely going to leave money on the table if you're not in that pricing software. If you don't have it, like you go to Airbnb pricing directly, or even if you use a property management software, if you go in there and try to modify pricing all the time, you're just going to miss a window of time that it should have surge pricing, or you just missed the boat. And the reality is, with a dynamic pricing software like a PriceLabs, you can modify the pricing all the time anyway. You can go in there and kind of watch what it does. You can set minimums. You can set all of this timeline-based pricing sequence of events to happen so that you don't have to pay attention to it. So it's really critical. You're going to leave money on the table if you don't use dynamic pricing of some sort. Again, we use Price Labs. So that is a list of the technology software that I feel is imperative for beginners. Try to figure out how to implement all of those sooner than later. We use all of the things that I mentioned today with the specific brands or the companies that we use. So we highly suggest all of them today. If you have any questions, please shoot them down below. I'll be glad to answer them. If this has been helpful for you, please subscribe. Check down the alarm below, the button below, and we'll be making more of these going forward. Thanks so much.